So I think the first question that we had of the day. So typically we play.
Well, let's introduce everybody to what's going on, because nobody knows what's going on.
Well, today we are doing our podcast live. It's a little different. We've got a live stream going on Facebook, and we have a live stream going on TikTok. So if you guys are joining us, thank you. It will be a little interesting to see how it goes. It is what right now? 10:30, 10:40 at night.
That'd be a 9.
Huh?
That'd be a 9.
Oh.
9:30.
This angle, it looks like 9:30. So 9:40 at night. So we're always late night podcasting. It's never the ideal time for live stream, but we'll see.
We thought we'd bring you guys along. See if you guys like the live thing.
Yeah.
But this is a conversation. Our podcasts are just a conversation between me and Stephanie. So for anybody who knows us personally or doesn't, or like to kind of like see the inner workings of our lives, this is it. So the content stuff that you guys see is a lot more fabricated is not the right word.
No, we document our lives, so we don't make things up. We never go out with making content with a purpose typically.
Yeah.
Like I think it was yesterday, I posted up some old photos of when we first started sharing our lives on social media of me with like a pig's leg and like the foot attached to it. I had been talking to someone that had met me in town in Limbasa, and they were saying, oh, like, you know, it's so nice to meet you. And we were talking about just like funny stories from the past of moving to Fiji. And I was like, I should post this up because I know I actually have a photo about this. And my memory of it is just like the boys came into the house and they dropped off. Our uncle in the house was catching pigs, wild boar all the time. And so they came into the house. They had caught a pig and handed most of it out to the village.
That's usually something you don't say. But in this case, I think it's okay.
And then...
to say caught.
Oh.
Because they're like... when you're hunting, it's like really like...
No, but he caught it.
He did catch it though, because it's in a trap, right?
Because it's in a trap. It's like in a rope trap, and then you have to kill it.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. And then so they brought a leg into the house, and the foot was still attached. And then you guys both left the house, and you said to me like, oh, hey, here, make dinner. And like there was still hair on it. There was still like skin on it. And I don't know, fresh
most of the hair off.
out of Canada, and I'm like, I don't think the food should have feet on it. Like that, probably the foot was the hard part. So I remember calling my mom, and my dad was on the phone call, because I was calling my mom to say like, what do I do, Mom? Like I don't know. I feel like so stressed about trying to figure out how to make this, which I don't know. And my dad's like, get a saw and hack off the foot. That's the first step. Get it off there so you don't have to look at it. And the funny thing was, I was not capable of it. I actually had to call one of my nieces over. She's like 13.
Who?
Ekari.
Oh.
And then she like came with a machete and like chopped the foot off, and then I was okay. I actually made pulled pork.
Nothing like a grown woman calling her 13-year-old niece to come and...
She is more skilled with a big knife than I am, to be honest. So she came over. I made pulled pork, and then my mom said, oh, if you have any peas, like hard peas, you can make like ham and pea soup. So I made the most like Western Canadian food out of this.
Oh, I remember that.
Boar. But it was hot. I was
over a tad gamey.
A
little gamey.
It was not gamey.
A little gamey.
It's probably the most perfect thing you've ever had, and you're welcome.
Okay.
So don't knock my cooking, because otherwise
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not a good traditional wife, and if you don't show up for dinner on time or you knock the food, I'm done, and you go ahead and we'll just eat like plain rice for the rest of our lives. It's fine with me.
It's a hard pass. It's a hard pass.
I have this thing in my family growing up, and you did not. That like when my family said, oh, it's dinner, when my mom finished cooking and she said, hey, everybody, I'm done cooking, come for dinner.
This is normal.
It's not. At your house, it's not.
What?
I have seen and witnessed it's not. So when my mom would say, it's dinner time, and we would be lagging, my dad's like, if you don't get to the dinner table, there will be hell to pay because your mother just worked hard for this. And when we were first married, I would say to you, John, I made dinner. And then sometimes it'd be like half an hour until you were like gracing my presence. And I would be boiling. Like, I'd be like, I will never cook again. Yeah.
Fair enough. Hey, if you get questions on the live, let us know. Like, if you think it's a good one. But I don't know if people are going to be engaging with it or not. So, guys, let us know. This is our first time to do this.
That's right.
Okay. Let's do this awkward question.
Oh, John's just been dreading this. So
I've been dreading this question.
Those of you that have not joined us before, we have this card game that we typically play at the end of our podcast. So we're going to start with one question.
This game is called We're Not Really Strangers. And there's a bunch of different editions. This is the couples edition. So it's questions to like stimulate the relationship between. Stimulate's a weird word though, hey? I don't know. You know, there's a few words that I don't like.
If you don't say it's awkward, it's actually okay.
No, but there's a few words that I try to stay away from. One of them is stimulate. One of them is moist. The other one is moist. I don't like the word moist. Moist, this doesn't really hold up, you know?
No, I don't know.
It's just always like a bit like, you're like, yeah, you know, like how is the buns or whatever, you know? It's like, yeah, they're a little moist. You're like, I don't know. This doesn't feel like the right descriptor for a bun.
So you're more comfortable with wet.
Well, okay, let's just move on with the game. So this game has three levels. There's perception, connection, and there's a third one. I can't remember. So it's just basically meant to stimulate conversation.
Anyway, we bought this game outside of the podcast, and because John and I work together, we do business, we do life. Sometimes conversation can be boring in the sense that we just talk about business, we talk about problems. And so we bought this game because we thought like this will help us like in the evenings, instead of just talking about business or talking about like our children or whatever. It will help us actually have like meaningful conversation between.
But I'm not a boring person. I'm like a mushroom. I'm a fun guy, right?
Super fun.
Fun guy?
Okay, read the question.
What is the sexiest thing I do without realizing it?
Okay, so this is easy for me.
Oh gosh.
It would be baking, which is a very funny random thing that you do. You're a very good baker. And obviously there are things in your life that you
I had a recipe that I was just going to whip up after this podcast. And it was like...
But John's a really good baker. You wouldn't know if you ever are at like a Soleil or like a function or whatever, and you're like bringing a baking. It's probably John's baking that we're bringing.
Have you ever had a moist bun? It's probably mine.
Probably John's. It's definitely not from me. And I think like that
really
is like a random
this
thing.
Is weird.
It's a random thing. I think like obviously different things, like for women, we're very different than men. I think like if you do the dishes, or you're like helping me make the kids' lunches for the next day, or like things that help my life and make them easier instead of like the things that I typically do, if you just do them, it's attractive.
You guys just gonna see me disappear from social media just all day. Just, Steph, we need another 25 kg flour. Let's go. Making chocolate cake, bread, banana bread.
All of a sudden, John and I are like 300 pounds. You're like,
I'm sexy now, baby.
Sexy, and I know it. It's funny.
But, okay. I did not. Wow. You know, women are weird like that. Like they have these like answers like locked away in like jars of clay, you know?
Well, when are we going to talk about that?
I don't know. I wish you would have told me sooner. I would have baked so much more.
Just every morning of my life, like fresh bread and butter, and just delivered to my room.
I could use some morning bacon.
Okay, I'm going to give you another thing. That's good.
Yeah.
In the morning, like when you bring coffee to the bedroom.
Yeah.
When I'm sleeping, and that's how you wake me up. That's really a great like way to start the day. There is progress there.
Dude, you will have a fresh bun and coffee every morning now.
But here's the thing that like men need to realize within life. Like women are slow burners. If you do and you do and you do during the day, women will go, wow, that's really sexy.
It's like an investment.
It's an investment. It's slow. And there's things during the day that you go, wow, you care for me. You love me. Oh, like that was so nice. That is reciprocated well. Men are obviously very different than women in how we think. And like, obviously, like physically, like I think you're attractive. I think you're sexy, but I don't look at you and go like, well, you're like bending over or something. I'm not like, oh, that's sexy. But when you bring me coffee in bed, I'm like, oh, my husband's great. It's just different. It's different, obviously.
What's that song that the kids sing? Shut up and bend over, or something like that.
And
dude, I heard our kids singing that. I'm like,
wrote that song.
You think so?
Oh.
Yeah, because if you read it, it'd be like, shut up and open the oven or something.
I don't know if all women have that. Most of the men I know don't bake, but
well, like, do you, if you're a woman and you're weird like this woman, do you find it attractive if a man bakes you an item that can be baked? Like a pie, like or a bun, maybe?
Oh, like when we were dating, you made me.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh.
No, there's never when we were dating. We were fully married at this point.
No, we were not married. I was driving from your family home to my family home, which is like a 16, 17-hour drive if you're like speeding. Like slow pace, you're like 20 hours. You made me like a rhubarb.
No, that was when we were married.
We were not married yet.
Steph, I only made that when we started keto.
You were at your house, John. This is different. You have amnesia. When you were living at your mom's house, you made me this pastry. It was not keto at all. It was the fattest thing ever. Like you made me like a basin full of like strawberry rhubarb like pastries that took hours because you had to like freeze the dough and go through like processes. And I ate it and I was like, if you propose to me, it's a hard yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that good. It was so good.
Like I said, you guys might see me, in the content a little less over the next month or two here.
It's really funny. The only person within our content that actually has made food videos is you.
Oh, true.
I've never made a food video.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't.
I've made what? What did we make that time? Surah?
You made surah and you made like bun and lolo, but you put like
blue. Topoy, blue topoy.
That's right. That's what it was, topoy.
I've made guava jam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something else.
Something else.
I can't remember what it was.
Fish something?
Probably something with fish.
Yeah. Oh yeah, double fish and lolo. Right.
Oh, and then you also make smoked fish. Remember that?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just me. I have no idea what that means. So that's right.
So sorry, we're talking to Tui, our producer, is behind the camera right now. So, tabu is Bowen dialect. And how about like what we say here? Rahi. Rahi is like only here. Or how about in Bua, what do they say?
He doesn't know. We all don't know. And do you know what I say?
Because I've actually never heard of. I asked some people here, and I'm like, what do we call it? And they're like, koli rahi. Yeah.
Koli? Okay, so like, for the people that speak English, koli is fish.
Dog.
What?
No, yeah, it's fish.
It's fish in our dialect.
In our dialect, yeah.
Koli. And what's fish in Bowen, the main dialect?
Ika.
Ika. And then what's the second word?
Rahi.
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 Rahi. Like the
yeah.
Rahi.
No.
No? It's so wrong. Say it again.
Rahi.
Rahi.
Yeah, in Senganga dialect.
It's so hard. Senganga dialect's so hard. Like, okay, this is my understanding of like Fijian. If you say, this is the first thing I ever learned in Fijian, is vinaka nakana kere kere vakadengo. Okay?
Yeah.
And then in our dialect, and you can tell me if I'm wrong because I never use it. I never say it. Is vinaka nahana heri heri vakadengo. Is that right?
Almost. That's not bad actually. It's pretty close.
Is it good?
It's pretty close. Yeah.
It's so hard because the Bowen is K And then I know that it needs to be more, but I can't quite get that. Like
the German.
It's like German. I always say it's German Fijian. Like
yeah, I think like a spitting.
I'm trying here. It's an effort. Let's be honest.
Well, at least you're trying.
And then the funny thing is, if I ever speak Fijian to like any of the kids here, and then to our content managers, I'm like, okay, I'm never speaking Fijian again.
That's fair.
I'm like, go home. John's like, why you're so harsh in Fijian? Well, I should be like saying to them, come eat dinner.
Yeah.
Right?
Probably. Well, you do sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like the other night, I made fish chowder. Chowder is like a milk-based soup that has
not coconut milk.
Not coconut milk. Right. Regular milk, but it's like heavy and thick cream, and then you put like potatoes and corn and meat and some sort of, I don't know, carrots or whatever. And one of the boys in the village came for dinner, and I made like the giantest pot of soup. So I said, come for dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it had wallow in it.
Who was it? Otama?
Chicken.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Chicken.
Well, that's his name.
Poor kid. I don't know how you got that nickname.
It might have been me. I can't remember.
No, it was not you.
No?
Anyways.
I thought it was me, possibly because one time when I was down in the village, they were like chasing chickens, and you know how they throw rocks at them and kill them?
Yeah.
And then a couple of them were running around with chicken heads. And I was like, oh, chicken head boy. You're the chicken head boy. And then all of a sudden,
it'd be crazy if that's actually how it started.
Chicken. So I kind of thought maybe it was me, but if it's not, I give up that title of naming.
Fair enough.
Actually,
he liked it though.
I don't know how to say his real name.
Isawa.
Yeah. I always say Osea.
Because there's lots of Oseas here.
And then it's Isoa.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for me. I always say the wrong name. And I've known him for like a couple of years. It's really bad.
So if Isaiah is Isaiah.
What is it? Isa. Well, obviously.
Isa is Isa.
It has to be Isa. Bless you. Or Bula.
Isa, eh? Yeah.
Okay, that's easier. Actually, if I remember his name is Esau, then I'll remember. Oh, speaking of that. Okay, so
who's Esau's brother?
Abraham. Isaac.
Okay. Anyways.
Is that pressure?
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Don't put me on the spot.
What were you saying?
I'm saying I was at the LTA the other day. I lost my license.
Oh my gosh.
Accidentally did it. And then I was...
Watch us get all the tickets in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, don't hate me. You guys did a great job helping me out here. So we got there, and we were trying to find my name within the system, and it was lost. Like, we couldn't find it. We put in my name, we put in my middle names, we put in, like, my maiden name. We tried all the different variations. We finally found my name, and I got a new license the same day. But it was a bit of a process. And the thing that was funny, when they were researching my name, Stephanie, there was so many Stephanies that came up in the system.
What?
And I'm like, how is this even possible? Because every day, if I have to state my name to somebody for a record, they're like so bewildered at my name. Like, it's such a weird name for them. And I always have to spell it out. And they're like, what are you saying? So now I'm not sure if it's my accent or if it's my name is weird. But there is a lot of Stephanies on record. So I don't see why.
With what kind of last names?
I didn't read the last names. I just was like, how there's like at least 20 or 30 people like on the registry.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, there's got to be a bunch of expat Stephanies.
Yeah, but no, we were looking like the domestic, like local people.
Oh.
So I'm like, normally I feel like I have such an exotic name here. Where in Canada or the US is a very like common, like boring name. Like everybody's named Stephanie.
Right.
You know? It's like,
it's true.
Of course your name's Stephanie or Jessica or Amanda or, you know? I don't know any like very common names here. I don't know what would be. What's the most common Fijian name here?
What's a very common Fijian name?
For women.
Oh, for women?
Yeah.
Racheli. Racheli I hear a lot. What would be a common name? Like, cause like, yeah, in English, I guess there is common names. Like you hear like, oh, that's like a very John. Or like, you know, Mark.
Josh.
Mere,
Mary is
Yeah.
common. That's right. That's
Yeah.
true. Mary.
which is Mary. Which
And
makes
what
sense.
about like Indo-Fijian community? Is there a really common name
Uh,
for like guys? Yeah, Raj.
yeah.
That's true.
I meet a lot of pretties for whatever reason.
Yes.
Lots of pretties out there.
Pretties.
Yeah.
Are you?
I think it's a really beautiful, pretty name, but
And actually,
Sorry,
like, what a nice name to have, like, pretty. Like,
yeah, it's true actually.
like you're so pretty.
Yeah.
I love it. That's nice. I've never actually liked my name. I
Really?
always well, because like Stephanie can also be Steffi.
Oh.
Which I feel like is very like I don't have much of a brain. Like such an airhead. Like, oh, Steffi, and I'm like, oh.
Is it worth it to keep the lives going? Do you think? How many people do we got on Facebook? Guys, we're just gonna figure this out because we're doing this for the first time ever. How many people do we got on Facebook? Okay.
Oh, that's fine. That's great.
And on Tiki? The mics. That connection?
Of course, it's every time.
Yeah.
I think like because we're filming in the village, it is hard. We don't have great connection out here.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
We're working with Digicel right now, so maybe one day in 5 years from now we'll say, "Hey, Digicel, can you build us a tower on our lease
Yeah, right?
so we can put out better content for you?"
I know. I wish. Just put
Yeah.
our own tower out here.
Yeah, and so far, what a good company to work with. The people love them. The staff have been so good. I don't have any complaints.
So, for everybody who is like, I'm going to go in a different direction now.
That's fine.
So, yeah, everybody, like a lot of people ask us about like AI and stuff like that, right? Well, you didn't expect this?
No.
Okay, don't act like you didn't expect this. So, what I did today was I entered the transcripts from our last however many podcasts
Okay.
into an AI.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
So, we have an AI that actually will spit out every single word from every podcast.
Okay.
So then I took those words and I entered them into another AI to give us like, hey, give us some like conversational,
That's
kind of
smart.
like stimulating questions
Okay.
to help our conversation.
Really?
Yeah. And I got like, it was like, just like spitting them out.
I love that. I'm super into AI.
I know you are really
use
into it.
ChatGPT,
And you love that I used it in this way, don't you?
and I love that you used it in that way.
And you kind of find it sexy, like baking.
I think I do.
Oh,
Something that like a lot of people right now are scared of using AI and things like that because the technology is beyond us. And I agree, it is a little scary. But in my estimation, I'm 33 right now. If
Holy.
we do not, you're 31, I'll be like, you're
Sure.
so old. In my estimation, if we don't jump on board with it, we're just going to be old and outdated. We're not going to know what's going on and how to use it. So I've even watched videos on like how to use AI, how to use ChatGPT to make it better. And
isn't that the definition of somebody who is old? Is like watching videos on how to use a tech?
it's new technology. Don't pretend like you didn't watch YouTube videos on how to edit. Don't pretend that you didn't watch
Right.
videos on how to make transitions and use technology properly.
Right.
So with
Fair enough.
AI, I like a lot of people use it like Google. Like, what is this herb's like biological name? That doesn't matter. You actually need to give AI context and more information. So I spent like an hour or two giving it background information on John and I, our business, our life story, like our move to Fiji, different things like that. And then when I ask it questions or I say like, hey, can you like take like a snapshot of our story and bring it into like a paragraph sentence? Can you?
It works.
It works. It
Yeah.
gives me something so good because it's a brain. It learns. It like the more context I can give it, the better it can answer me. So it's just kind of like if I talk to you and I say, hey, John, this is my story. This is kind of what I've been doing. This is what I need from you. You can answer me properly. And
Yeah, just giving it context.
AI is the same. Okay, so let's hear some of the questions that you have from it.
All right. So these are all AI generated questions. You gotta say something? Is audio? Okay. So Okay, I got a funny thing though first. So this is one of the questions I just saw like when I was scrolling because we got a bunch. So are there any significant regrets or mistakes in your life that you haven't addressed on the podcast? How have they shaped your journey? So can I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because this is stupid, right? I don't even want to talk about this right now. But talking about regrets.
Okay.
So I watched this reel on Instagram the other day. And I may or may not have followed this channel or this person on Instagram. And they basically put out like romantic kind of like sweetness.
Okay.
And it totally backfired on me because the post is like, the only thing I regret in my life is like not meeting you sooner and like beginning our life together. And then I was feeling all like, yeah, so true. Like, you know what? I just need to go to Stephanie and act like these are my own words. And I was like, I don't know what I did. I gave you a hug or something. Like, I just regret. You know what? The only thing I regret in my life is just like not meeting you sooner. And this Steph's like, I don't regret it. I wouldn't want to meet you sooner. We were so young when we met. I wouldn't want to meet you before you were 17. Sheesh. I'm glad we met when we did. I'm like,
So hard.
That really backfired because I was like trying to be all romantic. You're like,
I wish I.
The only thing I regret in my life is just not having you in my life sooner. And you're all like, no way. I enjoyed my life before you. I'm glad we didn't meet sooner. I'm like, jeez, okay.
So bad. Well, I was just like, we met so young.
I know, and then
we got married when you were 19,
I
and
know.
I'm like, how much earlier? Like,
I was trying, okay, guys.
do you want to?
The point is that you try, right? And sometimes it backfires.
I was your first girlfriend. I don't know how much sooner we could have met before. Like,
I tried with a lot of women though, but she was really into her volleyball, so she was too busy with her high school sports.
Yeah. You tried to like,
which means that I was like, she's like, sorry, I was really busy with my high school volleyball. I'm like, wow.
And the funny
Never been so rejected in my life. Nobody's
funny-
busy with high school sports, by the way.
The best thing was John was like a pudgy high school student. And like, I personally, I didn't find him bad looking. But when I met him, he had like, I don't know, like he was 17 when I met him. So he had just gone through puberty pretty much and like become like more jacked John. This is really normal for guys. And I was like, oh, he looked great. And this is just normal. And all the girls that had grown up with him were like, oh, chubby John, and had known puberty John. I don't know. That's normal for guys. Like, I knew guys in my high school where they were like just pudgy. And you're like, like you're kind of cute in like a pudgy way. And then next year you show up to like school year, you're like, who's that? And you're like,
well, I mean, you never thought that about other guys, right?
Definitely did. And okay, well, I think that's normal.
I never found anybody attractive other than you, and never will.
Such a lie. Such a lie. And the funny thing to me is John always professes that he doesn't like light-skinned women, or I don't know.
Dude,
it's like
black chicks are my thing. I'm into the dark skin.
Just always says that, and then just married the whitest woman of all time. I can't even tan. Like, this is tan, guys. I have been in the sun day and night. And if you can see behind us, if you can see the picture of me glowing, like I'm iridescent, like I'm almost see-through over there.
It's literally the album cover for the Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Song.
John used to say to me, I used to ask him, like, what do you think is attractive? And he's like, you know, dark skin, dark hair, everything opposite of me. And I'm like, and then he'd be like, also, like, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever met. And I'm like, I think you're just confused.
You're the best mistake that God ever made.
Yeah, maybe I am.
I don't know if that really works, though. I take it back. I take that
back. I'm okay with I am. You know what? You didn't know what you wanted till you saw it.
Oh, okay. All right.
I rolled into your life and you went, oh, there it is.
Yeah, all right. She's sick.
Okay.
Okay.
Shh. No.
Okay.
No. Okay, what's the AI question that we're asking?
Okay, how can embracing the culture, this is super generic, how can embracing the culture and traditions of a place like Fiji enrich one's life and personal growth. So how has like living in the village enriched your life?
Well, it's definitely simplified me in the sense of like...
Yeah, it's definitely true. Yeah, me too.
Like in
What do I
Canada,
actually need?
what do I actually need?
Right.
We moved to Fiji with 8 suitcases. A lot of people move to Fiji or
With a
wherever they go
container?
with a container.
Yeah. And 8 suitcases is a lot too.
8 suitcases
like,
is quite a bit.
That's
like,
2 each.
And we filled our bedrooms, and I always try to like remind myself, like, you know, our house was already full. Our house was stocked with pots and pans. It's not our own.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. But I think like to simplify your life, like when we build our own house, I don't want to have a lot in there. I want to keep it minimal because it's so much easier to keep clean. And like when I go to people's homes within Fiji, they have minimal amount of stuff. It's what they need to survive. It's not what they need to have or they want as much, because the finances are not like...
The finances are spent in different ways. That's all.
They're spent in different ways. And I think like overseas, you're just seeking comfort. So sometimes when you see something that you want, it's a comfort item. It's not a need.
Yeah.
And so people are spending their money that way. And so their house gets full of things that they never use, that they found a momentary comfort in. And then it becomes like an overstocked house that all of a sudden it's uncomfortable because they have too much stuff.
Right.
And it's becoming garbage. It's like trash. It's actually not healthy.
Meaningful.
It's not great. It's not meaningful.
Yeah.
And like if we had looked at our old space that we used to live in a really tiny carriage house.
There's one thing that I miss that I'd probably never use if I even had it, but
which is what?
my Xbox.
Video games?
Yeah.
You're such a... Actually, okay, so
No, just because of the kids.
the kids love it.
Because I would love to just play like Need for Speed.
The kids
Or, like,
are allowed
Forza
to play video
Horizon.
games on like Saturday and Sunday. And everybody in the village has video games.
But you know what? I was fishing with Seva at the river today.
Yeah.
And that's like way better than video games.
It's way better.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if we need it, but I will say, like me and you were even addicted before we had kids.
We're not addicted.
We had like a small house and we had 2 bedrooms. One bedroom was for video games.
You're pretty cool.
John and I would like play Halo together. And then we just like kept our TV out of the living room because we found it was better.
Yeah, we didn't have a TV in the living room.
No, because when we had guests over, we'd talk and hang out, like have meaningful conversation. And then when we just wanted to chill and like not talk and do anything, we would just go upstairs and like we had a futon and we just like hang out, play video games.
What is a futon?
Futon's like a couch that folds down into a bed.
It's the best invention ever.
And then my brother and I had like a little like mini wrestling fight.
Oh, you broke the futon.
We broke the futon.
That was upsetting.
I don't know who threw who. One of us threw each other onto the futon and we busted it. And then I went to a client of mine that I'm friends with and we cleaned her house. But I was there just hanging out with her talking while some of the staff were cleaning. And she was saying to me, "Oh, I have a futon. Like, you guys should totally buy it." Futons, by the way, are normally like cheap, kind of like university student kind of bedding. Like, they're not a fancy item.
Because like you want to turn your couch into a bed, which means you just can't afford to like
have both.
Have a house with an extra room that has an extra bed in it.
So normally
like
they're like
your living room that would then technically become a bedroom.
Yeah.
Which means
it's like
that,
a ghetto item.
Yeah.
And she was saying to me, she said, "Oh my goodness, I have a futon that you could buy off of me." And I'm like, "Wow, that'd be
Bless
great.
her heart.
That's so nice of you." And then she was like, "Yeah, I'd even sell it to you for like $5,000. I'm like, "Oh, well, we're in very different worlds." And I was like, she's like, "Yeah, we ordered it from Italy. It's like custom leather, blah, 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 blah. It's oversized and like so nice." And I'm like, I was kind of like looking for a futon like under like $200. Like, wasn't
like there's levels to the game. Like you realize, so in like our residential cleaning company, commercial cleaning company in Canada is very much higher priced than all the other competition.
Yeah.
So we end up working for clients that usually have more money than the average person, I guess. And so when I say there's levels to the game, like you can go to, you know, your local, you know, furniture maker, or you can go to Quartz, or you can go to you know, kind of like the luxury place to get like your couch or whatever. Or you can go to Italy and Google like couches, made. Like custom leather couches that are manufactured in Italy and order from there. Like there's just levels to everything. And when you think like this is the highest level, like that fancy furniture place in Pacific or in Singatoka.
Her futon was $5,000 and my car was like $4,000 at the time. Her main living room couch was $60,000. And I've never paid that much in my life for anything.
For anything, yeah.
So I was like, okay, oh, thank you. Like, you know, trying to be gracious. And she's the nicest person. So I was just trying not to be like, I'm way too poor for that.
But she was trying to do something nice.
She was very sweet. And I really adore her.
I'll give you a good deal.
Yeah. Well, what's
next
deal?
question.
$10,000 to $5,000 is a good deal.
And this is all AI, guys. Check this out. Have you ever faced, because this one hit home for me, have you ever faced any ethical dilemmas related to content creation and your faith?
How did it hit home for you?
Well, just because like I think mostly or the most with this podcast, because usually we're very much so in control of like what we put out. I mean, there's lots and lots of footage and pictures and other things that like we take all the time that are just on our phones, then we don't release it because it's personal, or like, hey, the kids are in their underwear, or like, you know, or it's like a joke that would be misinterpreted or whatever that is. And so this is even more risky, guys, for those of you who are just going to be watching this on YouTube after, because the lives are going. So this is like, we can't re-edit this because there's a bunch of people watching. And so the podcast is the most like vulnerable, and where we make like our inside voice jokes to each other, like the jokes that like moist, you know, like things like that, like things that you're like, that's a bit risky. Yeah. And for me, because like, it's like, how does what we do achieve like our life mission beyond business, which is like reaching people for Jesus, so that people can like, when they see what we do, they're like, oh, those people love Jesus, and the content they create points people towards him. Yeah. And like, I have inappropriate thoughts. I have like dirty jokes, you know,
silly humor.
That
my mother, like, if she's listening, don't listen to the podcast.
Sometimes I just want to say penis for no reason. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, right? I mean, just want to just say it.
I think like the podcast is great in the sense of like people can get to know us more in our humor and our personalities, and like you put out content that is real, but you don't put out humor, you don't put out social context, you don't put out like real life stories. And podcasting, it's a conversation between me and you that's public. And I think like I'm fine with like having the stupid jokes, and if people don't get it, don't watch it. I think like,
do you ever feel torn inside though, like what I was saying, like I don't know if this is like what we want to be known for.
I have the only really hard and fast rule I have for us is like making sure our children are portrayed and like their boundaries are set. So like for people that haven't met us in public, if my kids, you want a photo with them, I will ask my children and I'll say, do you want to take a photo? If my kids say no, you won't get a photo with them, because to me, that's their personal space and I will respect that. I will never force my kids to be doing that. If my kids are dressed like just in their undies, I won't post a video of that. I won't have them portrayed like that, even if they're boys, just so that I can respect their personal space. I would say overall, that's the hard and fast rule I have. With myself personally, I don't have a lot of boundaries, because as a person, if you ask me something, I don't have a lot of personal like walls of like, I can't share that with you. I can actually almost share anything with people.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys don't see pictures of me in my undies either.
Well, no. This is not OnlyFans over here.
I mean, that's my usual outfit when I'm baking, so that's what it is. I bake in my undies.
I would say maybe it's this Waka Sulu, just the Sulu, and
I know.
That's it.
And you guys can look just this sexy if you go to wakafarms.com/store. It's all available there.
It's all available.
This sexy Sulu. You can just wear the Sulu, no shirt, dudes. Guys, go get the Sulu. Don't put a shirt on. and make some buns. And then take some of that melted butter and just like spread it on top, make them nice and moist. Dude, should freak out.
I feel like this is way too far, but anyway, it is.
You got some questions? You said?
Yeah. Okay. Tui's gonna ask us some questions.
Okay.
How do you deal with depression?
Okay, so this is a question from TikTok from Waisiliva. Why? Oh, why? Oh, okay. How do you deal with depression?
I would say I haven't dealt with depression a lot. I've dealt with anxiety quite a bit. First time I ever felt depression was right before our wedding. I went on birth control medication.
Oh, this is something we haven't ever talked about.
Yeah, and I fell into like a really deep depression for about a year. It was a hormonal thing. When you take like birth control medication, sometimes it can switch your hormones into woman, and it changes how you look at life. And I became a very different person. I had social anxiety. I did not enjoy big groups of people. I felt so stressed when I was having to go to work because I was waitress and I was dealing with hordes of people and their drama and all this kind of stuff.
So you didn't have depression, but you had anxiety.
No, I had depression during that time.
Oh, during that time.
I said I didn't deal with depression a lot, but only during that year I've ever felt that.
Then how did you deal with it though?
I didn't deal with it well, to be honest. Like I remember...
I guess you stopped taking those meds.
I eventually stopped taking those medications and I came to a point where I kind of leveled out my hormones. I remember during like COVID, for example, like I dealt with a really harsh anxiety through that. Like when we moved here, it was obviously like a world change, going from comfort and
other dramas.
Life is like accessible to you and like comfort and all these things in Canada. And then during COVID, when we moved here, we weren't making money from our business in Canada as we thought. And so we had almost no money. And I found that so like stress inducing and something that like I found to deal with it was just me and you having good conversations about it, about like having someone that was commiserating with me in the same situation and like talking.
That's a word that they keep using in the World Cup. When the interviewers interviewed the losing team's captain or coach, they're like, commiserations. Have you heard that, Tui? They always talk about, and I'm like, commiserations. And you just said that.
Commiserating?
What does that mean?
It means like wallowing in your sorrow together. It means like...
But like, it's just like the interviewer actually says it to them. Like, oh, commiserations. So what is your review on the game? Like,
oh, I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
But I think like having someone in it with me was a big deal.
Like just feeling the pain with you.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's what it, okay.
Feeling like the agony together was a big deal, or like talking about it. I think like a lot of people when they go through depression or anxiety, like they suffocate it within themselves and they deal with it themselves and they think they're so in their head about it. And I think like the moment that you allow it to be vocal and you start sharing and like you work through it, that's the moment when you can go, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one that feels this stress and pressure and this like this anxiety about what I'm dealing with, because I'm not alone.
So are we saying like the best way that you found to deal with depression is to just talk to somebody?
Yeah, I think that moment of realization of like, you're not the only one that's dealing with this problem. It's freeing in the sense that like when you're alone in it, it makes it worse because you're like, I'm the only one that feels like this depth of pain and this depth of loneliness. And that's what drives people to suicide. That's what drives people to like being like non-functioning people in society, because like they feel like they're the only one. And I think like that is something, it's hard because...
So what would you say to her? Is that her? Why? Siliva, yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
What?
Well, like, I think she's asking, like, like maybe she knows somebody who's going through depression.
I think so, like just finding someone to talk to. I know that
or
Fiji,
being there for that person,
or being there for people and just saying like, how are you actually doing? And when they say, I'm good, saying, no, how are you actually doing? What is that? How are you feeling? You
got to cut through that
sad.
first question.
You have to be harsh to people to actually get them to say what's real. I think like, or if you can start saying I statements. I have felt this way. I have felt sad. I have felt lonely. People take less offense to that if you're like, how are you doing? You look sad. You look, if you start going, I feel like this, they have less like intense pressure on them. They have less like condemnation about how they feel. If you're saying, I feel like this, then they go, me too, instead of.
Or if you're like, or, you know, if you want to be a bit more direct than that without saying like you're depressed. Like, or you can say, I've noticed XYZ about you.
Yeah.
Is it true? You know?
And
Like, is there something that like, are you like,
and
are
I
you all
think as a
good?
good friend is
Check it
someone
in.
that cares for people. If you notice something slightly off, that's not their normal cadence or their normal person, that like you should be checking in on them, because all of us, no matter how joyous we look or strong we look on the outside, we have our moments of like hardship or like stress or anxiety or depression or whatever. And it's good for us to all talk about it openly. I know like within Fiji, there's not a lot of that. There's not a lot of like open communication. That's a problem. People are lonely. People feel like they have no one to reach out to.
Yeah.
And it's more of an open conversation like in Western cultures, but even then, people get overlooked, people are missed, people are depressed. And I think overseas we look at too much of our inward happiness.
Yeah.
But I think there's a good balance between like, let's solve that like deep like need. And a lot of that need is taken care of by Jesus. I think having a place to center ourselves and having someone that loves us and someone that forgives us already for all of our crap that, you know, we all have. And I think like that is something that allows us to be centered. And then even with Jesus, we do struggle. It's not a foreign thing to have anxiety. Even if you have Christ, we all are sinful nature. We all have faults. We all have struggles. So it's not something to be ashamed of. If you have Jesus, it's like a plus. You have hope. But you are a human being, so you will have struggle.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
How do you find the time to do everything that you do?
How do you find the time to do everything that you do?
Stress.
That's from Ryan on
Stress
TikTok.
and anxiety.
I just know there's a lot of people that do way more than me. So I don't have time to complain about me finding time to do things I do. Like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like management. I can add too much to my plate. But I know there's guys out there that are freaking crushing it. Or guys and girls, women and men, that do a way more than me. And so, like, here's the thing about life. Like, we actually kind of all move at a similar pace. Like, when I walk, my walk is not like a lot faster than like Stephanie's walk or Tui's walk. We all kind of have like the same rough walking speed. It's just more like some of us are just more efficient at like getting the stuff done, you know, and like the way that we do things is like more efficient. And so not we, but like some people do the same thing that you do in a better manner. They either delegate it better, they come up with the right systems and procedures to do it better so they can walk away and do other things while other people take care of those things for them. I think for me, it's knowing that like this is not like a short-term thing. And so if we were rich, like we probably have our own podcast studio, right? Like we probably have a dedicated room that had like good insulation and proper lighting, not just like a bunch of like stuff that we set up every time we have to do this, you know? And so I'm in this for the long run. And I know that, you know, if we take good things take a long time to build, great things take a very long time. And so like we're all doing this to like change the nation and change the region and change the South Pacific. And so I'm okay to like struggle and like get my plate really full for a long time. I mean, we're 4 years into this. And so sometimes I overload myself, but I think like, you just have to delegate properly.
Yeah.
And just don't feel sorry for yourself. Like if you got to stay up late, like a lot of people just aren't willing to put the work in too. Like when it comes to like, how do you manage to do all the things that you do? It's like, well, sometimes you got to be up at 4:30 if you want to like take care of yourself, and then you're going to go to bed at midnight, and that's just what you're going to do for 10 years.
Yeah.
Can you do that?
I would say like this, the longer we're in the process, delegation is a big deal. So I was listening to someone that does business and they do it well. And they were saying, I had to switch my mindset from the entrepreneurial mindset of like, I do and I accomplish, to I need to delegate better. Because honestly, I would say that's harder than doing. Like when it's just John and I like trying to get things done, I find it easier because I'm relying on myself. I know my capabilities. I know your capabilities. I know how far I can push you. I know how far I can push myself. And then when you're delegating things and jobs to people or trying to stay on top of people, it gets more complicated because you're looking at like, what's their capacity for work?
But I think also like, what's the word? Like metering your expectations of other people is also important when it comes to like, addressing your question, like how do you get so much done? Well, you probably have to delegate if you want to get more done. But when you delegate, you just kind of have to expect, and can't remember where I heard this, but they're like, somebody who's going to do the thing you were doing will probably only be able to do it 70% as good as the way you did it. And it's not because they're 70% as good. It's because you might be only 70% good at telling them how you want that thing done. Yeah. So like if you can find two people who can do it 70%, then now you're at 140, right? So now you're doing it better. Now they're doing it better than what you did it.
Well, and there's also the thing of like if you are your own boss, you are your own worst boss. Yeah. Because you've gone from a boss that it demands that you work 9 to 5. When you're your own boss, sometimes you work 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. or even later. And so you're like the crazy person that pushes yourself to like extents that no one would ever employ someone and say, you have to work around the clock, but you may do that yourself. And so when you hire someone and you delegate to someone, you also have to go, what's realistic? Yeah. Because you can work nonstop. Maybe if you're not sleeping really well at night, you wake up and go, oh, I have to work at 2 a.m. because I'm not sleeping. I might as well be productive because tomorrow will come soon enough. But you can't expect to employ someone and hope that they wake up at 2 a.m. and go, I'm going to work, but I can't sleep. They're probably going to watch Netflix and go back to bed. Yeah. And that's actually acceptable. It's not wrong. It's right. There's like a weird balance within like building business. It's a struggle. It's hard. It can be painful. But typically it's only painful for a few years. Like our business in Canada, we have an amazing manager that runs the company. Mm-hmm. She's so good at what she does. I probably talk to her once a week with like, if she has a nightmare client that I typically deal with or something that hasn't happened to us before. And it's pretty easy. She knows what she's doing, but we've built it out so she can run the business. It's pretty standardized. It's not rocket science.
So yeah, I would say delegating is probably the most important.
Yeah. And John and I are working on being better at that. We're not very good at it. It's probably a skill that we suck at. It's something that like this year should be our goal to like.
But that means like if we do it well, like our lives will be so much better, or we'll just be that much more, have that much more opportunity for success or likelihood of success if we delegate well.
And all delegation, it comes down to communication skills. Yep. It comes down to like between you and whoever you're working with, that you know what's going on. You guys talk back and forth and you're on the same page and nobody's stressed about it. Yeah. And you guys work and your workflow is good and you have it all laid out for the timeline and you accomplish things, and if there's problems you talk about it. So in business, I think like if you're worried about getting more done, learn how to communicate, learn how to talk to your staff and your people, and you'll get more accomplished. So I would say that's a big goal for us starting January. Maybe we'll start taking some online classes or just doing stuff to improve our delegation or communication stuff. So
the one who goes alone goes fast. The one who goes together goes far. Next question.
From Joe Tico.
From Joe Tico.
Most difficult thing for the both of you being an entrepreneur in Fiji.
what's the most difficult thing for an entrepreneur in Fiji?
For us, yeah.
For us?
Yeah, for you guys. And what helped you? Being an entrepreneur, like reaching your goals or
What's helping us?
I think the toughest thing is like being in the phase where like you're at the mercy of all of the governing bodies. So whether that's FIRCA or whether that's the business registrars or whatever, and not because like, man, I've actually met like through my time some awesome people in these different departments.
Oh yeah.
People that like I can Viber and like they'll like look at my account and figure out why it's locked or whatever. And so that gets better with time. But once you're the master or the captain of your own ship, I'm the captain now. It just gets better. And so I think that was the hardest part for me, was like getting past that, like especially like with the leases, like dealing with the TLTB. And like that comes with all of its own stuff, dealing with the Vanua and the village. But like once that was done, the lease papers were signed. Like it's easy. Now I just have to pay the leases, you know? And that felt like now it's in my control. Like now it's up to me to do my part.
Yeah.
I feel like, getting it out of other people's hands and into your own is like a big step.
I would say that's a big change. Like from Canada, when you set up a business, you can actually get it set up in 5 days. You can get your registration, your business license, and even a bank account open within 5 days. It's very fast to process. With Fiji, it can take you up to, 6-7 months if you're really persistent to get like your health license, your registration, bank accounts.
Yeah, depending on what kind of business you're in.
Yeah, depending on the business, but it can be very hard to get it open and have all your paperwork in order. Typically, a lot of businesses in Fiji start running before they have it in order, and then they get it in order as they run, because financially it's not feasible for anyone to wait that 7 months, that you have a space and you're like hoping to get the paperwork in line. I would say within Fiji, something that has been beneficial to us is just having a creative outlook on business. So within Sanganga, when we were opening up the coffee shop, everyone said to us, "Oh, you need to bake bread. Oh, you need to make curry at your coffee shop. Oh, you need to have chicken and chips." And that's kind of something that everybody does in the country. It's very similar. A lot of people are taking concept that another business person does and just replicating it and making it their own, which is not bad. But it's limiting the variety that we're having within the country. And so things like Google or, just different recipe places and expanding on that food style, or even like having a place that offers just something unique. Like let's say for Indian cuisine, a lot of the times there's not a lot of Punjabi food within Fiji. There's a lot of curries. There's a lot of chicken and chips, but we don't have a vast amount of Punjabi food.
Or a bakery with some moist buns.
Or that. Just anything that's a little bit different. It doesn't have to be outside of your culture. It just has to be something like when I go places, I don't see kakanda a lot in restaurants. Or I don't see like different, even having like surwa out there within Indian restaurants, or butter chicken available widely. Having something different within like your cultural context that like maybe you make it home, or maybe you've never made it before and you look on Google and you try it at home and you go, wow, this actually tastes great. Maybe I should offer that in our restaurant because it's different, but it's also just a little bit familiar. It still has the same spices, has the same flavor.
You're really on the restaurant, like idea here?
Well, I'm just thinking about fresh, like when we opened it,
Oh,
like fresh tea and coffee. I was just thinking about all the things that we heard constantly. Just like,
the thing about this guy's question.
okay.
What was the question again? What are the things that have been hard for us in our entrepreneurial journey?
Journey and what has made it
Hmm.
good for us.
Hmm.
I would say maybe
I think being able to like,
stamina.
yeah, and just knowing the right people in the right places probably has helped you. I can probably get a bit. It sounds crazy. Like it feels like such a long time because the reason, if you guys notice, I was like daydreaming the last couple of minutes is because I'm like, how long would it take me to get a business open right now? I'm like, couple days. I'm like, no. Actually, the one big holdup in opening a business is when you go to the bank, they got to do like a business name check. So you go and apply for a business bank account under this name, but then they have to liaise with the business registration or register of businesses,
Yeah.
and that takes a couple weeks. So if anybody's wondering how you need to open a business in Fiji, you go online to Digital Profile Fiji. You just go on there, you enter the business name you want, go check if that business name is available. It'll say yes or no. Probably is available because if you're creative enough, you're going to pay the fee. And then you're going to get your license. Then go to FIRCA, the Fiji Revenue and Tax. So the tax people, right? You're going to get a TIN number. Once you do that, you're going to go to the bank. Go to the bank. Because all you need to operate a business is a business like license. You need a bank account, and you need a way to process payment. If you have those three things, congratulations, you now have a business. Then you're going to go to the bank. They're going to take a couple weeks to search for the name. Once that's done, good. You got a business license because you actually don't need business license anymore in Fiji. You just need a business registration. Get your bank account open, and congratulations. Now you can start charging people money for whatever you want.
Yeah.
Take a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and a lot of people, like when they first come, they try to get their businesses open quickly. And we learned this. Now we have connections. We've gone through the process. We know people.
But you don't need connections to open a business in 3 weeks.
You do.
No, you don't.
It took us 6 months to open.
No, but now that I know what I know, and now that there's Digital Fiji and all this stuff, like my FIRCA contact is helpful because like if I need like random things on the go,
Yeah.
like now, like tax compliance.
But you feel like
forms.
if you knew nothing coming into the country, you could go open up in a few weeks.
Yeah.
I
feel like
don't know.
if I put out a checklist of things that you needed, like exactly things that I just told you on our website,
We should do that.
and you could just go download that PDF for free, you could open a business in 3 weeks.
Okay, so this
Save
is
$200.
This is interesting. John and I and Tui are all working hard, and a girl named Jess in Australia. We're all working hard to open up a media company.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we're looking at is just being able to help people book events and make their travel a little bit easier. We're looking at all the major cities and towns within Fiji and looking at accommodation, restaurants, that kind of thing. And we're just trying to like accumulate like a database to help you guys, like when you're trying to go in and book things, especially if you live overseas, to make it really easy for you to come into Fiji and go, oh, I'm in Reki, or I'm in like Limbasa, or I'm in Savo. I need to book something. Where's the best place to book it? If I need to go out and grab a quick lunch, what's really cheap? What's the more fancy lunch that I can get at like a reasonable time rate? Like, what does that look like for me to come into the country and accomplish these things? Or even if you're from Suva coming over to Savo and you're trying to throw an event, what does that look like for people? And so we're trying to get contacts accumulated and knowledge that we have so far, and just trying to put it in a database. So we're working on that right now to make just kind of like the logistics of life a little bit easier. The Fiji is a relatively small country. And so I think it'll be easy to go, oh, if you're going to Limbasa, my favorite place to eat is at Gopal's Hare Krishna. They have really good vegan food. If you want a fancier meal, maybe go across to like this particular place. And
Which is?
what's that place we went for dinner? I always forget the name of the restaurant. before we went to the thank you dinner for when I was
Oh,
judging.
North Pole.
North Pole. If you want to go to North Pole, it's like a bar that has like
A pool table on the
a
ceiling.
pool table that's like it's just
Oh,
kinda-
good time. Oh, it's a North Pole is a hotel. North Pole Hotel. Okay. Good
So
times
they
bar
have a
and grill.
restaurant. It's called Good Times, and it's a little bit fancier. You
Yeah.
get drinks there, and
One more question.
it's high class.
Do you have one more? Or is that it?
Do you guys do exports or just wholesale?
Yeah, we don't export anything yet. I mean, we export our merch, I guess.
Yeah,
Or our
one day.
apparel.
Like our
But that's not like, yeah.
John's family, his parents are moving here in 2 years, and so I think when they come, they will probably handle the really intensive farming side of things. And John and I'd love to handle the export and marketing. I think that's where our strong suit lies more so, and so I think like it's a big job trying to do farming and then the exporting.
Yeah.
It's a
need a
major
team.
you need a team. You can't do it alone.
So dad's like an agricultural genius. And he'll be able to figure out everything that we need on the farm. And so our goal was to create employment opportunities. And so in order to do that, we need to cash flow. And agriculture doesn't cash flow fast enough
Yeah.
yet in Fiji. And so it just takes time. We're getting there. But it'll take a team.
And something that we're looking at, which would be really interesting, is doing like black turmeric.
Oh, yeah.
You know how, I don't know if some of you have seen, like last year we were looking at buying turmeric and we had a failure of a middleman that couldn't buy
exporter.
from us. An exporter
Yeah.
that wouldn't buy from us. We were buying from people and then nowhere to sell it to, even though we had a promise of purchase. So we're looking at like, we looked at the fact that like Indonesia has a really cheap market for us to bring in turmeric to Fiji. So much so that even the local turmeric that we can get
India.
here. Oh, India?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Thailand or Indonesia area. Anyway, India had supplied a huge amount of turmeric to us, so cheap that we couldn't even compete with it locally. And so something we were talking about is maybe it's the fact that we need to make the market more organic, more special, more unique, more niche. And so a black turmeric would be very different.
Oh, dude, all the freaking soccer moms in the place where we come from, like freaking out. I'd be like, gee, where'd you get your black turmeric latte? It's like, it's the only place in town that sells it.
Don't you dare mock those people.
Oh, okay, sure.
They will be your customer,
Sure.
and you should appreciate them.
Well, on that note, I'm going to go make myself a black turmeric latte after this.
This podcast was brought to you by Fresh Tea and Coffee. We're between Savo and Lambasa. Stop in for pizza. We've got lattes. Actually, guys, we even have banana chocolate smoothie now.
Yeah, we just started making it, and the bananas come straight from my farm. So
Yeah.
bananas are hard to sell to the market because there's like a big flood. So we're like, hey, we'll just freeze them.
Make smoothies.
Make our own
baby.
smoothies. So
Have a
no
good night,
fakeness
guys.
there.
Thank you for joining us live, and we'll talk to you soon.
we appreciate you all. Peace.